Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Carlianne. I sent out a request on my Instagram to tell me what help you needed with posing characters. It's been my most frequent request to talk about, and I wanted to see what specific pain points you're running into. And today you're letting me draw on your drawings. So let's go. Okay, next up are these three. These are really well drawn. I can tell that you have been practicing drawing characters. You have good proportions. You're playing with different styles. They all feel like very unique characters. They're really fun. And I was going to just choose one, but you said what you were struggling with was that they felt stiff. And I wanted to point out how there's, I think, one mistake you're making in all of them that's causing you to feel that way that I thought was really interesting. So hop into that. So even this character here on the right, which has really good line of action, like that is nice motion that's happening. I think he still feels stiff because his pose is symmetrical. And if you look at all three of your characters here, they all have symmetrical poses. So they're equal on both sides. So my recommendation would be to maybe vary up the pose. You can keep one arm up, and maybe he has one arm down and he's yelling out. Or this guy, he could have one arm on his hip. And you could push it even farther by making him look a different direction. Now this makes it really interesting when you look at it visually, because you kind of want your eye kind of travels this way. And even on a character that's facing straight towards you, you can play with the hips and shoulders to give more variety. This is called contrapposto. I might have pronounced that wrong. You can correct me in the comments. But it's having this one hip, which is up, which has the weight on it, and then the opposite shoulder here is also up. You could still keep it if you wanted both arms on here, or you could drop one down and have one leg come out. And then again, up to you if you want him to look straight at the camera or if you want to turn his head. I think that gives it a little bit more variety and makes it more interesting, but it really depends what you're going for. If you wanted him to be really domineering, then you might still want to keep him completely straight on. Okay, first of all, this one is really good. But one of the things that you said is that something didn't quite feel right with it. And I agree with you. I think there's just tiny little tweaks that we can make to make the pose feel more natural. The first thing I tried doing was putting myself in this pose and seeing if I could do it. And I realized I was having trouble with getting my hand as far back behind him as he has it. So I'm gonna go through that with you and show you the kind of tweaks that I made. So the first thing I did is put down a ground plane. This helps show me where his hand back here is actually hitting the ground. And since, like I said, I couldn't get my hand back there, what I'm gonna recommend is that we just move his hand down. I get questions a lot. I'm using Photoshop. It's what I use professionally. You don't need Photoshop to do this, obviously. I'm just going through edits with you. Okay, the hand is down, and I think that's already starting to feel a little better. It actually is kind of enhancing the shoulders so that he has more action in his shoulders and it's less straight across, which is actually kind of nice because it helps it be a little bit of a less stiff of a pose too. My next tweak might be subjective, but I find it to be, if you look at someone's profile and their head is down, it's not as comfortable looking as if their head is up. I learned this from like America's Next Top Model. Tyra's always like, show your neck. So I think if we increase the space here for him, we can get just a little bit of a nicer and a more natural pose. So I'm just gonna do a quick cut and rotate of his head here. And that's really it. I think that looks a little bit more natural now and feels more of an organic pose. He feels less stiff, and I hope you agree with me, but if not, you can go ahead and keep his head back down, but I like it. Okay, for this one, I love all the color you're using. I'm a big fan of everything colorful, and this one is so pretty. And I really also enjoy the characterization that you have on your character. Like, you're not afraid to play with style, and that shows, and she is so cool. Like, I would want her to be my friend. So good job on making a really interesting, fun character. What I also really like is I like that you were thinking about, for the pose, the shoulders, how one goes up and one goes down and how they interact. And that's really good to think about with the hips too. So I'm just drawing over here for a second, kind of laying out where you have your torso here. One thing that I would ask you to watch out for, which is a little bit more of a anatomy thing, even when you're doing a cartoon character, you can have elongated arms, but you want to keep them consistent on both sides. So unless for some reason they're not supposed to have, like they have a deformity or something that's part of their character, you want to keep it on consistent on both sides. So this one you have pretty long, and on the other side it's actually pretty short. But if we draw that ground plane, I think you can get away with just making this one a little longer and just bringing her hand down a little more. So she's less like barely touching the floor and has her hand further down. And then I'm pretty sure the thing you are running into here, which was the biggest struggle, is the foreshortening of this leg in front. And my recommendation is that unless there's a really good reason to have extreme foreshortening, you don't need to have a pose do that. It actually looks kind of funny. Even in photographs, you'll notice models try not to put themselves in extreme foreshortening positions unless there's a reason, like they're trying to like point at you or something like that. So I would bring this leg out so that it's less extreme. And if you're having trouble with this, you know, you can try putting like a box in perspective to lay it out and then bring it back here. And I would draw this leg like that. So that way it's not as extreme of proportions there. It'll be easier to draw, and it'll also look nicer. If you do that, you might have to have her foot peeking out there in the back. Okay, this illustration is so cute. I love her so much. She is so sweet and adorable, and I love that she's like has an expression, and you can tell that she's like getting pulled along. That's so great that you were able to communicate that. What I'm going to talk about for you is maybe just pushing the pose a little bit more so that it's just a tiny bit less stiff and has more movement. I think this is great that you have sort of this flow here. This can be thought of as like the line of action, like what's happening in the movement. So you have this starting to happen here, but this part's really, really straight. You can bend it a little bit, her action here, maybe make it just a bit more dramatic. So if we brought her foot back here and we kept this one back, and then maybe even bend her back a little bit. And if you wanted, this could be a little bit too dramatic than what you wanted to go for, but you could straighten this arm out too. And this would make it feel like she's getting pulled, like pulled along by the person in front of her, and she's like unexpected, so it's pulling back against her. And then I thought it might be also fun right now. It looks like she's kind of looking straight over here, and it could be fun if she's looking down at what's happening. So you can have her eyes come down here, and she's like still has that expression, and they're like, oh my God, what's happening? As she's running along. And it's very, again, super minor tweaks. Maybe just push her pose just a little bit more to show more action. Okay, so to summarize what I think we learned today, one of the points is to make sure that you have your ground plane of where your character is going to stand or sit. It's going to help you locate where in your body things need to be, especially on a sitting pose, like where that hand should go, but also where the feet are to make sure they're not misaligned. The next one is to try and pose your own body. If you're struggling with a pose, move your body into that pose and see if you can do that pose. And if not, you might need to adjust your drawing. The third is the line of action. Make sure that your character doesn't go straight in a line up and down, but that there's motion in it. When you draw your rough gesture, try doing that. I'll do a video on the line of action to talk more about it, but look out for really stiff, straight drawings. And then finally, try to avoid symmetrical poses. It'll make it more natural and have more motion. So try putting one arm up or one arm down. This is not true all the time. But definitely something that you can do a lot of the times. And also have your head look in a different direction than your body is facing can really impact your drawing a lot. But play with making things not symmetrical. All right, and that wraps up this video. If you guys are looking forward to hearing about my line of action video or any other poses that I'm gonna be doing, subscribe, like, comment, let me know how you guys are enjoying this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.